All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most popular databases out there, PostgreSQL. But we're not just talking about PostgreSQL. We're digging into the story of its forgotten, pioneering ancestor. It's this incredible tale of, academic genius, cutthroat competition, and a legacy that, well, it lives on in ways you probably wouldn't expect. So let's just start with this. If you're in tech, you know PostgreSQL. I mean, it's a total giant in the database world. But what if I told you that its core DNA, the very ideas it's built on, actually came from a much older, revolutionary project that most of us have never even heard of? To really get this, we gotta go way back to the beginning. Our story kicks off in the 1970s. Not in some corporate high-rise, but inside the academic halls of UC Berkeley. Kind of an unlikely place, right? For a piece of tech that would change everything? And you have to understand, the timing here is absolutely critical. Project Ingres wasn't some latecomer to the party. Nope, it kicked off in 1973. That's just 3 years after Edgar Codd published his groundbreaking paper on the relational model. And it started right alongside IBM's legendary System R project. So Ingres was right there, in the trenches, at the very dawn of the relational database era. So who was behind all this? Well, it was these two guys, Michael Stonebreaker and Eugene Wong. Over at UC Berkeley, they looked at Codd's abstract theoretical ideas and said, yeah, we can build that. They took on the massive challenge of turning theory into a real working system. And the name, Ingres, it actually stood for Interactive Graphics and Retrieval System. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Ingres didn't use SQL. We all live and breathe SQL now, but back then, it wasn't the only game in town. Ingres had its own powerful query language called QL. And for a while, it was a serious competitor to SQL. In fact, a lot of people argued it was way better, more expressive, more like natural language. Just think about that for a second. The entire database world could have looked completely different if QL had won that fight. Okay, so you've got this brilliant project from university. It's proving itself, it's working. What's the next step? You take it commercial, right? But going from the cozy world of an academic lab to the open market, well, that's like jumping into a shark tank. It was an incredibly fierce, competitive world out there. But Ingres wasn't showing up empty-handed. It had some serious firepower. When it was commercialized in the early 80s, it got a reputation for being a real workhorse, especially on Unix systems. And get this, it pioneered an early client-server model and had advanced support for distributed queries. We're talking about features that were way, way ahead of their time. But even with all that tech, Ingres was facing a truly epic uphill battle. I mean, this was David versus Goliath times 3. It wasn't just fighting other startups. It was going toe-to-toe with the companies that will become the absolute titans of the industry: Oracle, IBM, and Informix. No small feat. And this is where the story takes a fascinating turn, because even while the commercial version of Ingres was duking it out in the marketplace, back at the university, its academic DNA was about to be passed on. It was about to evolve into something even bigger, more powerful, and way more enduring. You can draw a straight line from one to the other. Michael Stonebreaker, he went back to the drawing board at Berkeley and started a new project. He called it Postgres. Literally, post-Ingres. It took all the core concepts from the original, bolted on a bunch of powerful new features, and that project eventually became the open-source powerhouse we all know and love today, PostgreSQL. And we're not talking about just a few minor tweaks here. No way. The Postgres project was a fundamental upgrade. It introduced object relational capabilities, which meant you could work with much more complex data, not just simple rows and columns. And it added absolutely crucial features for reliability, like write-ahead logging. That's the thing that makes sure your data is safe, even if the whole system goes down. A total game changer. But hold on. The story doesn't just end there, with PostgreSQL taking over the family business, so to speak. The original Ingres, it has its own amazing story of survival. And its journey, man, it teaches us a really powerful lesson about what it means to have an influence in the world of technology. Now this might be the most surprising part of the whole story. Ingres isn't dead. It's not even a museum piece. Far from it. Today, it's maintained by a company called Actian, and it's still out there, quietly humming along as the backbone for critical, large-scale systems in places like government and telecommunications. It never actually went away, it just stepped out of the spotlight. And that right there, that gets to the very heart of this whole thing. It shows you that there are two different ways to leave a legacy in tech.
On one hand, you've got market dominance. That's the path Oracle took, right? They won the commercial race, hands down. But on the other hand, you've got technical influence, and that's the path Ingres took. Its ideas, its very DNA, are alive and well inside one of the most respected databases on the entire planet.
So, what's the big lesson here? It's this: innovation doesn't always equal market dominance. You can be the first, you can be brilliant, you can even be technically better in some ways, and it's still no guarantee you're going to win the race. But what it can earn you is a different kind of immortality. And you know what? Maybe that's even more enduring. So, I'll just leave you with this one thought. This story of Ingres is a perfect reminder that so much of the tech we use every day is standing on the shoulders of forgotten giants. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other unsung ancestors are out there, quietly powering the tools that you and I rely on every single day?